So let's go ahead and look at our slideshow here. Okay, so first a little bit about me. My name is Angela Gama. I'm an instructional technology trainer. Here's my contact information in case you need any training with the technology apps that we use every day pretty much now. What are we going to talk about today? We're going to see what is Adobe Premiere Rush, how to install this app, Adobe Premiere Rush. We're going to take a tour in the interface, and we're going to see how we create new projects, all the editing tools that we have available, and how to share and export these projects. And at the end, I'll have a Q&A. You can make any requests that you like for me to show you, or if you have any questions throughout the webinar, remember you can post them in the chat or just raise your hand and I can go ahead and pause and have you ask the question. Okay, so what is, first of all, Adobe Premiere Rush? So Adobe Premiere Rush is a fairly recent application from Adobe. It's the first all-in-one cross-device online video editing app. What does this mean? It means that no matter what device I'm using, I can create projects using my tablet, my phone, my laptop, and all my devices or all my projects will be synced through all of my devices so I can continue working wherever I like. All my projects are stored in the Adobe Cloud, so that makes it really easy for me to continue working in any device at any time. Premiere Rush includes the power of Adobe Pro Tools. So even though it is a very user-friendly application, very streamlined, unlike other Adobe apps such as Adobe Premiere for video editing, you can learn Adobe Premiere Rush in just a few hours, I'd say a couple of hours even, and get a really nice result without having to spend hours and hours trying to gain those skills that we maybe should have for a more professional type of video. We can get those same results using Adobe Premiere Rush without investing hours and hours learning these tools. These projects are saved in the cloud, so your changes are reflected across all your devices through automatic project syncing. So it's really nice. So how do we install Adobe Premiere Rush? As a Modesto City Schools employee, we all have an Adobe account. We first need to access this site, and I'll share this PowerPoint with you so you can just click on the link and access the site. But if you just open your Google Chrome browser and type in the search Adobe Creative Cloud, that first result should take you to the same site. From here, you're going to find the sign in button on the top right corner of our screen, and it is nicely a single sign-on, so I can go ahead and continue with Google if I don't want to type in my email address there in that line. And I will select the Google account if I have more than one used in that device. So I have to select the one that belongs to Modesto City Schools. And we do have an enterprise ID, so we must select the company or school account. From here, we're going to be logged in to our Adobe Creative Cloud. So we'll land in this Adobe dashboard where it's going to have this welcoming message, and next to it I will see all my services. So in order for me to install Adobe Premiere Rush in my computer, I need to do it from my Creative Cloud, so I don't need any admin permissions. If I do it directly from the Creative Cloud, I can do it without admin permissions. There is one thing to note here, like there is probably like a handful of accounts that we do get this message, you need admin permissions, so don't hesitate to contact Help Desk if this ever happens. But once you hit the Creative Cloud here and you click open, you'll see in the top part of the apps tab, and you'll find all the different Adobe apps that are available to us. So see in this Adobe Premiere Rush icon here, or tile, on the right hand side we have the devices that this app is available on. So we have the desktop app and we have a mobile app as well available. We're going to click on the download button and a download will start, and we will just go through the process of opening that file that downloaded and installing it in our computer. Now, in case you didn't know, as a Modesto City Schools employee, you can install any of the listed apps in this page in an additional personal device. So if you have a family member that likes to work on Photoshop or InDesign or any of the other apps that we have available, you can install it in an additional device and have your family use these apps, or you also to use it in an additional device other than your work device. So this is really nice. It's just one device that we have that extra license. Okay, so once you install the app, we launch it, we will see this initial screen. This is if you have any projects already started, this is where you'll see them all. Here I have a little example showing this video that I created of how to write inside of a shape. So you'll see all the different projects here again, and these little dots here are additional options for you to manage all your different projects. So you can rename the project directly from here, you can delete this project, or you can turn the sync off. That means that if I turn it off and I start working on this project in my computer, in this computer, those changes will not be reflected if I open it in a different device. So I wouldn't want to turn the sync off if I'm going to work with different devices. So if I like to start a brand new project, I will click on that blue button that says create a new project, and it will take me to a page now that it's called a media browser. This is where I need to select all the video clips, the audio, the images that I like to use in this project that I'm creating. You don't necessarily need to have all videos. You can have images. Maybe you have some photos in your phone that you like to do a video collage with some background music. This is a great app that you can use for that. Or maybe you have some past vacation videos that you like to put together to have like your vacation trip video here. This is a great app for you to do that. If you, however, just want to play around using random video and audio clips, Adobe has sample media for us to kind of play with, and this is the sample media that is available for us. We can find it on the left-hand side. We have all the different sources for us to choose the media that we can bring to our projects. So we can select something from our local drive. We can explore there in our desktop, our documents, our downloads. We can filter by the type of file in our local drive. We can access other sources from the cloud. So again, Adobe has its own cloud service called Creative Cloud, so we can use that to store some of our files as well, or we can grab something that we have from OneDrive. If I scroll a little bit further down, I will see the sample media from Adobe. So, and I will show you once I go live into my app where you can find this. So we have to the left all the sources, and we will see the content of the source I select in this panel on the right hand side. So the first thing I like to do is, well, let me explain these options in the bottom. If I have a lot of files in this source that I select, I can go ahead and sort the different content that I have in that source, or I can go ahead and filter as well. I have here in this window an option to name the project. So I can start here by clicking in the untitled text and naming the project that I'm going to be working with. So the next step for me, once I select the source, is to select from the source what audio or video clips I want to include in my project. So as you can see, each one of these that I have selected has a number. The order of how I click on these is the same order that we'll have in my project. So as I start clicking on the first one, we'll have number 1, then I'll have number 2. If I don't like that order, I need to change it. All I need to do is click on these tiles again and start all over again with the new order that I like. This is not going to be the final order. I can rearrange all these clips later on, but if you kind of have an idea of the order of your media, you might as well just include it in the order that you like to have it. So once you click on these tiles to select the media, you'll see them appear on the bottom left here, and you'll hit create once you're done and you like to add these to your project. Okay, so once you add these to your project, you're ready to edit your project. This is the window in Adobe Rush that you'll have to start editing your project. I like to kind of get you familiarized with this window, all the different options that you have, and then I will go live and show you in my Adobe Rush app the things that you can do to enhance and edit your project. So starting on the left-hand side, we have our home option. If I click on that home button, it'll take me to that initial page where I saw my projects that I had. So I can go ahead and create a new project, or I can continue working on a different project. This is all saved automatically for me. There's no save button. So if I click home, this project will be saved for me and I can continue where I left off. Then I have the add media. Let's say I started working with that initial footage, those initial clips that I selected, but then I decide I have another picture or another video that I like to add. I can come in here and select the type of media that I like to add. As you can see, there's some voiceover and titles. In these options, I'll go through them later in the webinar. Then we have our project panel. If I click on this little banker box, I will see all the assets that I'm using in the project. The assets are all the media that you're using in your project. Then in the bottom, we have some editing tools. We can cut, we can duplicate, we can delete any of our media clips that we have in our project line, and I'll go ahead and show you how we work with each one of these tools in a minute. Then we can expand our audio tracks. If we want to be really detailed and enhance our audio, we need to expand some of these tracks so we can really see where exactly we're working. So see in this video clips, for instance, I see some blue sound waves under that option. So if I click here, I'll expand those so I can be more granular when I'm working with them. Then we have our control tracks. This will expand my different tracks to display these options on the left, so I can lock a specific track, I can mute a specific track, or I can hide a specific track. I'll go into more detail about what I can do in these tracks and how many we have and all that stuff. And on the right-hand side of our window, we have our video enhancement tools. So if I want to apply a specific filter, some titles, some transitions, modify my audio, crop my frames, I will go ahead and access all of those in this toolbar. And again, I'll go ahead and explain each one of these in a minute here. So let me go back a little bit. So now I'm going to go ahead and explain this top part of the uh, window here. This is called the preview monitor, and it has different items here in the bottom. So the first timer here is the playhead position. This is going to be very important when I'm editing my video, because wherever the playhead is where if I start adding media, that's where it's going to be added. If I cut something, it's going to be determined by the position of where the playhead is. And it will make more sense once I get working in the Adobe Premiere Rush app. Then I have the sequence duration. This is the entire duration of my video. I have some player controls for me to back up a clip or back up a frame, press play, pause, etc. I can go into full screen when previewing a project, so I can focus on the entire screen and not just this little frame I have. I can loop playback. That means that once my project reaches the end, it'll start playing from the beginning. And I can change the video aspect ratio. According to the original footage that you start adding to your project, Adobe Rush will select the one that fits the best with your original video aspect ratio. You can come into this option and change it. So the 69 is perfect if you're going to have something in YouTube. This is like the landscape orientation, right? But if you're going to have it posted in Instagram or other type of social media, maybe you're going to be better with the smaller aspect ratio. So depending on where you're going to publish this, where you're going to share it, is the aspect ratio that you may need to select. You can change it at any point during your project. So now the bottom part of that window where we had all the tracks, this is called our timeline. This is where you can see the sequence of each one of your clips, and you can edit each one of these clips and tracks. So this blue line that you see across your tracks, this is your playhead. This is exactly where the video clip is playing. Then we have the V1 track. This is our main track. Whenever you select media in the media browser and you insert it to your project, it's all going to go in one track unless you move it to a different track. And we'll see in a minute how the different tracks work. You have only access to 4 tracks for video in Adobe Premiere Rush, and you have 3 audio tracks. So you may have some background noise, you can record some voice narration, and you can have a background song in one project. And you can have 4 video tracks in your Premiere Rush application, in your project. Okay, so that was a little overview of our Adobe Rush window. Now I'm going to go live and open my Adobe Premiere Rush app and start editing the project. Let's see here. So I already had the media that we saw earlier added to my project, so I didn't want to spend time adding all that footage. But here I have the playhead and I can move it, and you can see this circle moving as I'm moving this playhead. So I can see exactly what my clip is playing at any point, and I can also move this and my playhead will move together with this dot for me to go through the timeline. Now, remember I said that we can reorder our clips. Let's say I decide that this one will be better in the beginning. When I select by clicking a specific clip, I will see the orange frame, and I can just click and drag to the position where I like it in my video, and everything else will shift around it. See, even the background noise or the background song moved because it wasn't in the beginning. It was in the beginning before. But this one, I can also click and drag to the beginning of my video. Now, when I select a specific item in my timeline, I have the borders a little bit thicker, and when I mouse over the border, I see that my mouse switches to this arrow pointing to the left, and this means that I can grab and shorten this song to the exact duration of my video clip. I don't want my video to end and my song to continue playing, right? So I'm going to reduce the duration of my song to match exactly my video. And when you're working in this timeline, you will see that once you reach the end of the video, it snaps exactly to that time where it ends. So same thing, I can increase or decrease this duration. The same thing with my videos. If I think this clip is a little bit too long, I can go ahead and shorten it. It's basically trimming your clip with these outer borders here. So I can make it be the full length, or I can shorten the length and cut it at any point. However, that may not be ideal. Maybe I want to use the entire footage. For instance, this one here, I have a boat ride. If I click, listen to it, see exactly how long it takes. What I can do is cut this clip and make it 2 clips, so I can put the first part of my boat ride in the beginning, and then maybe I can finish up my clip with the second part of my boat clip. So what I need to do here, select this clip, and I'm going to position my playhead exactly where I want to cut this clip. Now, if you like to take a closer look to exactly know where your playhead is positioned, if you mouse over the scroll bar here, you see the circles on the edges, and this is going to help you zoom in or zoom out. This is great for video editing because sometimes you need to be very precise when it comes to cutting or splitting a clip. You want it to be exactly in the spot that you like it to be split. So I'm going to place that playhead exactly where I want it to be split, and I'm going to split with my scissors here. And Adobe Rush is really nice about giving you some tool tips, as you can see as you mouse over each one of these tools. If you don't know exactly what it does, well, some of them, there we go. I see an explanation in a little graphic of what it does. Anyways, so if I like to apply this tool, remember your playhead is key before doing it, and you're just going to click on the scissors, and now I see that this clip is now split up in 2 different clips. Now let's say you split it up in a spot that you didn't intend to. Over in the top right corner, we have our good old friends, the undo and the redo. So let's say I didn't want to cut it after all. I can click undo, and that will bring my clip back to just being 1. But I did want it to be cut, so I'm going to cut it again. And now this one, I can place it towards the end of the clip. So I can put it over here, and I can just move my playhead to see how it's going to go between one and the other one. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and add more media. So I'm going to click on this add media, and I'm going to select the media here, and I'm going to navigate back because right now I'm in the sample media, so I'll go back in the arrow to take me back to that source page, and I'll go into the folder where I know I have the media that I'm going to use. So I'm going to go into my webinar materials, Adobe Rush, and I'll add this snorkeling clip. So by selecting it, it works the same way as in the initial screen. If I select more than two, see how here in the bottom they're being added in the order that I select them. I'm just going to add these two. I'm going to hit add. And because I had selected this initial boat clip, all the media I selected was added after this clip. Don't worry, you can always, I'm going to zoom out so it's easier for me to see all the clips at once. I'm going to move this one again. Let's say they're in the boat ride. They arrive to the island and then they go snorkeling and we have this nice aerial trip. So let's move this. Here we go. So I'm going to start with the selfie recording, the boat trip. They arrive to the island and then they go snorkeling. So, and then I'm going to finish up with this clip. Because this is a little bit too long, let's say I'm going to cut this one and I'm going to delete this additional clip that I don't need. Maybe I'll get rid of this boat as well. And I can bring this one to the end. All right, so now another thing I like to do is add an image to brand my video. Let's say I want to have a little logo here in the top left corner. I can add images to my project. So what I'm going to do now is going to go into my pictures and I'll add this Bitmoji here, add, and I don't want this to be played with my video. What I'll do now, let me go ahead and close this so I have more room here. I'm going to drag it up to open another track. Remember we said that we had 4 video tracks and 3 audio tracks. If I click here, I can expand my control tracks and I can see exactly all my tracks that I have available and which ones I'm using. So now if I start my video, I see that my image is right on top of this guy's face. If I click here and I click in this preview window, I see that this image has those handles for me to shrink and move around in the video. So this is really nice if I like to have multiple items on top of the video playing at once. So I want to have this included in all the clips, so I need to drag and have it last the entire video. So as I start, all right, so it's starting to look nice here. So I'm going to use some of the enhancement tools that we saw earlier that are on the right hand side here. What I'm going to do now is put on some filters here. I'm going to select this clip right here because I like to apply a filter, and I'm going to select this color icon. So in Adobe Premiere Rush, we have some built-in filters to enhance the looks of our clips or our images. So we can select any of these that we have in our library, and we can then, after we select the filter, go ahead and change the intensity of the filter using this slider here in the bottom. So you can move across here the line to see how intense you want that filter. And here in the top we have the edit option, where if we're a little bit more knowledgeable about all these, or if not, you can always play around with these and see, you know, the best result based on what you like. You can go ahead and move these around to make sure that it looks the way exactly you want it to look. So you can change this. And I'm just playing with this. I'm not saying that this looks better than it did before. Just wanted to show you each one of these. I can do a faded film look. I can sharpen my images here, and I have this vignette that I can add to my clips. So towards the left I have the darker, and then on the right I have the brighter vignette. I can use this feather effect here to also add to my clips. So let's say I manually adjusted all of these items. What you can do now is save this preset to apply to additional clips, because you don't want to redo all this work one by one. You can go ahead and create a preset. You can just title it however you like to. I'll just do test and I'll save. And then when I select another clip and I want to apply those same presets, I just go into presets and I see that I have the test one here, and I'm done. Another thing you can do is select multiple clips by using the control key in your keyboard and clicking on the items that you would like to apply a specific filter. So you can go ahead and select it right there. There we go. So those are the cool color filters that you can apply to the different clips. And if you decide that this one doesn't look as good, you can go ahead and restore it to the original presets by just clicking none, and this one will not have all those filters. Okay, so if I like to close this item, I just click on this option again, and then I'm back to my full window view of my video. Now, another thing you would probably like to do is change your audio settings. So by selecting the clip, I can see here, remember we saw the expand audio option. If I click it, I can see a larger view of this specific item. If I click here, where I know that this one has an audio clip, I can expand this one as well and see more detail about how my sound is being played across this clip. Now, each one of my audio clips has this icon that Adobe adds to let me know what type of sound this is. So I can see this one is a song, this one is some narrations. So by selecting the actual audio, I can go into the audio icon here to open the different settings for the audio. So the first thing I can do is adjust the volume for this specific clip. You can see the sound waves growing if I increase the volume, or if I don't want this being played as loud, I can decrease the volume to adjust it here. You can always play this to hear exactly how it's going to sound compared with your voice narration. You can mute this completely if you don't want it to be part of your clip. And we have a little bit more advanced options here that, to me, they're not that advanced, but they're nice to have. So by selecting the audio, I see that this is a music clip, but I can change it to a voice or other. So if you have some engine type of noise, you can categorize this as other, not necessarily music like it is here. But when you select the audio as a music, you see that there's this option that says auto duck. This is super nice to have, because if I select this auto duck, see how now my sound for the song will be decreased automatically when it detects that there's a voice narration. So my song will not be as loud. That will kind of shadow my voice. So you can see how it changes from this clip to the other one. So this is really nice if you have something categorized as music. You can use this auto dock feature and you can adjust it here. How much do you want to reduce it? Now we have additional options here that I'm not going to go into details, but then when you select an actual narration clip like this one, you have other options. So you can adjust this to something different if it's not voice, but then you can select any of these options. If you like to reduce the background noise, you want to reduce echo or enhance speech, you got to tell it if it's a male or a female type of voice. So those are some of the options here for our audio. And also note that I can include some audio recordings on the spot. So if I like to record something to be included in my project, I can go ahead and I will go ahead and select an empty spot here so I can just record it without this being played. So I have the recording option right here in this second audio track, or I can go ahead and add a voiceover, which is the same thing, because once I click the voiceover, it'll go ahead and include this to record. So if I like to record something, I can then tap on this record button. It'll give me a countdown. Please join me and my friend in this awesome snorkeling trip in the Philippines. Stop the recording, and now I have this voice which I can go ahead and put in any spot of my project. Now let's go ahead and add some titles and transitions here. When I'm putting together a video, sometimes I would like to have some text or some tiles, some slides here to kind of explain my audience what is it that they're looking at. So I have the titles here in the top right. Can go ahead and select this to open this panel. Oh, I closed it. Here we go. So it has a bunch of built-in different titles or little callouts depending on what you're looking for. So I can go ahead and select any of these by double-clicking on them, and they'll be added to an additional track here. So if I start playing my video, I will see how this text starts to show up in my clip and disappear. So I'm going to go ahead and modify the text, and I'm just going to click inside of this text box, and I will start typing the title. And let's see here, I can then move it anywhere in my clip. So I don't want it to be, well, let's leave it here in the center. So now if I play this, I see how it's, okay, so that doesn't sound very good because we have this and this playing at the same time. So maybe I want to go ahead and move these around. So I will go and select all of these with my control, move this a little bit to the right. Wait, I gotta put this one here. Maybe I want to mute this. Not mute this one. Here, select this audio, go to my audio, mute it. So I have my audio instead of the actual clip's audio. So you have to kind of play it so you can see what is being played at that exact point. What do you want to mute? What do you want to decrease the volume of? So there's a lot of things that you can do very easily by just looking at your timeline here. So now let's go ahead and see a different type of text that we can add here. I'm going to add this call out top right. So by clicking on it, remember wherever you have your playhead is where this is going to be added, but then you can move it wherever you like it to be. So now here I can go ahead and move this call out, come on, exactly to where you want it. Maybe I want to call the audience attention to this part because there's a little fish there. So I can go ahead and play it and it'll show up exactly at this point. If I need to increase the duration, you use those borders to expand or reduce the duration of this exact call out. So those are the built-in ones that we have, and we can customize them by selecting them, and then we have the edit tab here. And I can go ahead and change the font for this specific title. Maybe make it bold. You can change the text color. Anything that you like, you can go ahead and change it here. You can blur it. Do different effects here with your font. So it's really straightforward, pretty self-explanatory here what each one of these does, but if not, you can always kind of move it to see what it does. There we go. I'm going to go back here, and now what I'm going to do is add some transitions between my clips so it's not so abrupt between one and another. So what I'm going to do is access this transitions option. By clicking here, I can see that there are just a few, but I can click on the one that I like to add, and I see that I have this little shadow between my clips. As I play, I see that it goes into black, and then my next clip starts. So this is really nice to not have just kind of like straight up cut and then start the other clip. So then when I have this transition selected, I can go into edit and edit the duration of that transition. So you see how it expands there and it lasts a little bit more. Now you can add different transitions to different spots. So this is the dip to white. And the last one here that I'm going to add is across this off. So it's a little bit a better blend between those two clips. And again, you can go ahead and edit the duration of these different transitions. So those are some of the tools that you may want to use to enhance your clip. So you can play with the different items here, the audio settings, do some voiceovers, and add some more clips. Now, when you're working on your project, if you go into the All Media and then add the media, you will see when you go back into the main source option, the sample media you can find here, and that Adobe Rush has a bunch of audio soundtracks for you to use. So if you don't have necessarily any background music for you to use in your videos, you can use any of these soundtracks that we have here in this library. So you can click on this bottom right corner icon to listen to a preview of this clip. So depending on what you like to do with your video, you can also trim it directly from here and then add it to your project. So if you don't want to add the entire song, you can just add part of it. You can return to that library by clicking in the back to grid view option to listen to a different type of song that would probably fit better your video. once we're done with our project here, we can specify the aspect ratio of our video. So when you are done adding your media and enhancing and adding your transitions, you are ready to share and export your video. So here in the top part of our window, we have the edit and the share. The edit is where we were working this entire time, and now I will go ahead and click share to go ahead and share my project. So there are different options here built in. The first one is to export this video into an MP4 file to our local drive. So if you like to have the file saved in your device, this is the way to go. You can go ahead and name your project, and you can tell it what folder you want it to be saved in. By clicking here, you can navigate to the exact folder where you need it to be. And I can see the exact size of the final project. Once I'm done, I can go ahead and select export. So now you also have different options here to share directly into social media and YouTube. So if you like to send it directly to your YouTube, you can go ahead and toggle this on, and you can sign into your YouTube account and share it in YouTube. If you like to send it to your Facebook account without having to download it and upload it in Facebook, you can directly send it to Facebook by signing into your Facebook account and sharing it there as well. So there are different social media that are available. The Instagram app doesn't let you do it but with your phone, with your mobile device, so you can't do it if you're working on a laptop computer. So you have a few options here for you to share directly. And once you're done sharing, exporting, you can go back to home, and you should see all your projects here, as I was saying. And let's say I close my app, I open it right back, and I click my snorkeling trip. It's going to open exactly where I left off, no matter what device I use to open these projects, as long as I'm signing into my account and I have them synced. So if I go back to home, I can open this other one. This is from the other webinar I did, so it's very similar to what we did today. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up this webinar. I hope that you find Adobe Premiere Rush pretty easy to use. It's not as robust as Adobe Premiere. I mean, that app, if you've tried working on it, is a beast. We have all sorts of different tools. It's super intimidating for me. I don't honestly know how to work in the different Adobe apps, although I would love to. But Adobe Premiere Rush, you can learn this in a couple of hours. And again, practice makes a huge difference. Play with it. Add different clips, add different video tracks, work with your Playhead, make sure that you play your video from beginning to end to make sure that everything looks great the way you want it to look, and try out all the different tools here. And it's super easy and fun. You know, you have all the time right now to kind of work on those projects that you never had time before. You have hundreds, if not thousands, of pictures saved in your phone just sitting there. You can start working with them and creating cool video collages to give to your family. Any graduations of family members, you can create something nice and special for them.